All right, so on the last slide you saw log 16 equals log of x. So what does x have to be in this? Well, it has to be 16, right? Like x has to equal 16 because log of 16 can only equal log of 16. It can't equal anything else, right? So x has to equal 16. In other words, if I have an argument inside of a log, they have to equal each other. So if I have, say, log of 2x equals log of 5x, they have to equal each other, okay? So whatever 2x is also has to equal 5x, which that's a really bad example. So let's do 5x plus 1, because then maybe you actually could find a solution. Right now you wouldn't have been able to find a solution. But so the arguments have to equal each other. And that's what this rule is here that we didn't really talk about in our foldable, but it's the equality rule, which basically says if log of x equals log of y, if log of some number here equals log of some other number, then x and y have to be the same number, okay? Because it's not like there's just lots and lots of different answers to this. There's one answer. You put in a number for the log and you get out an answer, okay? So if they equal each other, x and y have to equal each other. So whatever is inside, whatever's the arguments, they have to equal each other if it's the same log with the same base. So in this video, we're going to look at this one. So see, so this is ln and this is ln. Okay, so same log with the same base. So that means our argument, x squared minus 16, has to equal 6x. Okay, so we're just going to write that. X squared minus 16 has to equal 6x. Because for the logs to be equal, or the ln's to be equal, their arguments have to be equal. So that they end up being the same number, right? Whenever I put in whatever I put in for x, x squared minus 16 has to equal 6x. Okay, so what you might notice right away is this is a quadratic. And how do we solve quadratics? Okay, that's a little Dora Explorer the trick there. How do we solve quadratics? We set them equal to 0, right? So we make sure that everything is on one side. So I have x squared minus 6x minus 16 equals 0. And usually I try to make sure that the x squared is positive because otherwise we have to do all sorts of extra tricks to factor. So then how do we solve a quadratic once it's equal to 0? Well, we have two options. We can factor or we can use the quadratic formula. Now remember, the quadratic formula works every single time and you're welcome to use it. But, you know, if you can factor, it's faster usually to factor, but it doesn't matter. Either one is fine. In this case, we're going to factor and we say what multiplies to negative 6 and adds, or sorry, what multiplies to negative 16 and adds to negative 6? Well, that would be negative 8x and 2x, right? So I'm going to have negative 8x and positive 2x. Those would add together to be negative 6, but they would also multiply to be a negative 16. So how is this going to factor? This is going to be x minus 8 and x plus 2. That's going to give me what I need. We set that equal to 0. And so what are my actual answers here? X minus 8 equals 0. Or x plus 2 equals 0. Okay, so either x equals negative 8 or that should be positive 8 or x equals negative 2. Those are my two options. Now remember, and I know you hate these, but there sometimes can be extraneous solutions. So we have to check for those because sometimes the number we get out doesn't work. Okay, so let's come back up here. Let's plug in 8. And we're going to get, let's move that. Okay, so we're going to get ln of 64 minus 16 equals ln of 6 times 8 is 48. Okay, we could plug that into our calculator. Well, 64 minus 16 is 48, right? So this is ln of 48 minus equals ln of 48. Check. X equals positive 8 works. Okay, let's plug in negative 2. ln of, let's see, that's 4 minus 16 equals ln of negative 12. Okay, and you're like, oh yeah, that's ln of negative 12 equals ln of negative 12. But what is wrong with this picture? What is wrong here? We can't put a negative number into a log function, remember? Because our argument is the answer to an exponential function. And there's never, ever, ever any exponent in the whole wide world that if I put it on a function, on a base, that I'm going to get out a negative number. There's no such thing. I can't just put in any number to get out a negative argument. Arguments can't be negative, so this is an extraneous solution and it is not the solution. X equals 8 is our only solution for this